Photoshop or AI or whatever it is. But if they're not the storyteller beforehand, it just comes out flat. And those who are real creative storytellers make incredible stuff.
Yeah, I see, I love filmmaking and photo too, because a lot of times it requires a lot of collaboration, but I love filmmaking because it's the most collaborative art form that I know of. You're so reliant creatively, not just logistically, but you're reliant creatively on so many other people. And that really excites me because I'm looking at my life and I'm looking at my time capacities and I'm like, I only got X amount of time to like learn about what I want to learn about story-wise. Because it does everything takes time. And I'm like, if I want to be really good at writing, and like that's where I feel my strong suit is, who do I need to find in my circle who is going to be that brilliant, perfect, cosmic match to tell that story with me in the best way possible? And looking into the future, obviously there's going to be some like VFX artists involved who are just stellar glitch artists. I'm actually finishing a film right now that has some like nasty glitch art, like it's like crazy. Working with an amazing glitch artist, so it's going to be a myriad of different things, all of which are specific to the story that's being told.
How much of yourself do you put in your stories?
None at all. No, definitely a lot. And my personal process, I think that there is a nice line to walk where you're going to be very, very vulnerable, but in a way where you're not going to alienate an experience that's also very collective. Being specific enough to not be trite, but being opening it up to also acknowledge that this isn't like any experience that I have is also most likely experienced by so many other people. And like, how can I encapsulate the most, powerful, I guess, version of my own experience by stealing and taking and kind of modge-podging together a story that's also more complex maybe than my own, or more nuanced.
And you believe that people's stories are connected to each other, so like you, for instance, last time, like when you were in New York, this is a while ago, but you and your fiance were going upstate New York to explore. You obviously love nature. I think you might be a wood nymph, possibly. But that connection, I know, like, you know, to nature, to mycelium, of like how things connect to each other. Nothing is on its own. Do you feel like stories are similar to that way, and then that's why it connects you to nature in a lot of ways?
Yeah, definitely. Maybe, I mean, there's so many ways to, or so many ways to express what that thing is. The collective unconscious, perhaps, is one that maybe I use the most, as being sort of this fabric of our unconscious reality that we all share and that we all participate in. You might call it like this fifth dimensional limb of ourselves that also is connected to that sort of fabric. Could be something that really expresses itself outside of our perceivable material world, in the same way that a mycelial network is expressing itself below the soil that we weren't able to like necessarily perceive for a very long time. I do feel like that's very real, and that there are sensibilities that emerge from that network that we can subconsciously, definitely first, and then consciously later be able to identify.
So I've been wanting to ask you a question for a while. Is the art you create and what you said, are they all dreams?
Not all of them.
Some are reality and some are dreams.
Yeah.
And do you think when we all dream, we are in a subconscious where we're more dreaming as a collective rather than individuals?
When we're dreaming individually?
Yeah.
No. I think that our dreams are very individual to us. I think that our dreams are using the same substance. Like we're all drinking from the same water, and that water becomes our dreams. So like, my dreams are going to be very specific to me. Maybe I have a dream where I'm like losing a tooth. And that's a very, very common dream. Has anybody had that dream? Yeah, horrible. One of my least favorite recurring dreams. We all know the experience of like losing a tooth and how kind of vulnerable you feel like a child. Maybe you feel embarrassed, or maybe you feel like, oh no, this is gross because there's blood all over me. Now I'm getting too specific with my own dreams.
No, keep going. This is getting interesting now.
But when you wake up out of that dream and you're like, man, that really sucked, and it made me feel the same way that I feel when X thing is happening in my waking life right now. So I had that dream not because I'm like connected to some like greater scheme of like dream network knowing, but because I am consuming the same experiences, I'm living the same experiences and consuming the same experiences as a person, and it's going to express itself in a dream that's personal to me.
So Norman Rockwell, when he created his paintings, a lot of the purpose was to show everybody having the same experiences, right? You know, when famous turkey painting, like how we all have the same Thanksgiving and we're all having the same experiences. Is a lot of your art to show that we are sharing a lot of those same experiences also? And again, his art is very Midwestern in a lot of ways as well. Is it to sort of show like that somebody who maybe specifically from the Midwest or from the East Coast or West Coast, doesn't really matter, can kind of look at that and say like, I connect to that because I feel that I could see myself being in that spot, in that moment, in that feeling.
Yes, like I really feel like one of my greatest revelations as a person is that I'm not going to create any unique experience. Like that's just not going to happen, and there's going to be nothing that I make that will be too weird for people to not understand it. Like straight up, my TikTok feed is insane. Like I am relating to like a piece of bread like falling on the floor in a funny way. So like any art that I make is going to be experienced as something that's felt and relatable and collective in a way, and something human. We're not human.
We're not human. That could be next. When we go to Mars. I don't really know anything about Rockford except the Rockford Peaches from the movie with the sport, the women playing baseball, which was incredible. A League of Their Own. Fantastic movie, by the way, if you haven't seen it.
I haven't seen it.
But Rockford, since you have left, has changed somewhat. I don't know if it's one of the worst cities now in the country. They have a beautiful museum, and I believe that they're going to put 4 of your pieces up soon, right?
Yeah, honestly, I want to say I deeply stan Rockford. It's one of my favorite places in the world. The Midwest, too, in general, is like so beautiful. And yeah, Rockford Art Museum is really, I'm so excited to have my work there. Like, living there, moving there 6 years ago just feels very, very, very surreal that I would have my own work on those walls. So that'll be really exciting.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
So, would you go back to the Midwest?
Oh yeah.
Yeah?
For sure.
Yeah.
Maybe Michigan.
Michigan?
I like Michigan.
I was just at Detroit. It's not so bad there, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
It's shocking.
haven't been to Detroit in quite a while,
Yeah.
but like northern Michigan.
Is that close to where Rockford is? By the way, once we get past Jersey, I don't know anything until we get to California. And I know Florida's down here somewhere and Texas is over there, but otherwise I don't really know what's going on.
Detroit is like a bigger version of Rockford, and I think they're like 5 hours from each other.
Okay, so that's not so bad.
Yeah, not too bad.
All right, so can we take some questions, do you think,
Yeah.
from the crowd? Okay, let's go. Anybody have any questions? All right, Dave?
Can you talk more about mycelium?
Okay. What is your, if you don't mind, can we ask?
Yeah.
So, I was introduced to mycelium by Dave Krugman. I could say that publicly. And he told me first that it would open my third chakra or something. I don't know what he was talking about that. But
Slander.
since then I have noticed and I've believed, and I know that you're very into this, that there's this sort of larger connection that it has, right? And now foraging with some incredible friends, there's something deeper that's happening in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I began my journey with mushrooms. You guys want to know my first mushroom story?
We do. We really do.
Looking back, this was an absolutely psycho thing to do, and it was the worst period of my life, but this is the best choice I could have made. I was on a first date, and he was like, we were going to a play, and the play was Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead.
Yes. They're still dead.
They're still dead. Great, hilarious play. I don't remember
Great
any
play.
of it. All I remember is laughing my ass off because we took mushrooms while being in like the second row of this play that was at this place called the South Coast Repertory Theater. And this place is like in Orange County. We're talking the most Republican part of Southern California. Like, we're talking nobody in that room was under the age of 60 years old.
Wow.
And I was tripping for the first time.
This makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. And I would do it again in a heartbeat because it was really fun. But I've had much more profound experiences since then, most of which have been in natural settings, in nature. My best experiences usually always are. And I'm not super versed in how a mushroom actually works upon your brain. I'm under the impression that it has something to do with the fact that it's turning off some of your senses and allowing your brain to essentially fill in the gaps and make up where, does this sound right to you? Okay.
Let's just go with it. It's fine.
Yeah. You can at least be entertained by this idea. I'm pretty sure it's turning off your ability to create a cohesive perception, and it's allowing your subconscious mind to fill in the gaps of what cannot be perceived and projecting that onto your lived experience. So you're in imagination mode, but you're experiencing it as if it's real. So I had a trip that really changed my experience of tripping. The first half of my trips, I was like, oh my God, the tree is talking to me, the tree is alive. And then I had an experience where I was like, oh, I am talking to myself, because I am projecting myself onto this beautiful landscape. That doesn't mean that I'm not more perceptive to the fact that these other things are animate. That is one of the beauties of having a mushroom experience, is that you're actually confronting and seeing the animacy of the world around you. But I did not want to fall into the trap of confusing my own subconscious mind and the vividness of my own imagination with the very different and real vividness of the world outside of me. And that was actually a more powerful ego death.
Than seeing Gilderstein and Rose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Far more.
Is it part of your artistic process now?
I have a lot of respect for the medicine.
Yes.
I don't trip casually these days. I had and this is the witchiest part about me.
Oh, let's go.
I'm like big into cycle tracking, so I've realized that like the greatest or the most offensive thing that has ever happened to me, this is so dramatic, was the world and the society we live in not educating me about my own cycle. I literally thought I was crazy for over a decade of my life and like could not lock in what was going on. And then I learned about cycle tracking and I was like, that's actually crazy. It is so evil that we do not teach women or people who have cycles about that's what's happening to their body. I mean, it's just like night and day life experience knowing about this. And now I will only trip during a very particular part of my cycle because I find a particular part of that cycle lining up with a particular cycle of the moon.
Okay, now we're getting into this. Do you believe the moon, are you a witch? Let's start with that.
Who's asking?
Everybody here. Are you a practicing witch?
Yeah, I definitely heed a lot of wisdom from what you would call like pagan or earth traditions.
And
for sure.
you've studied this deeply about different rituals and